Hi folks, Dave and Janice back with you from No Fixed Address. In this episode we're going to be installing an RO water filter on our trailer. You might be wondering, why would we do such a thing? Well, we visit a lot of different campgrounds, given we travel full-time for at least 6 months of the year, and the water quality is all over the map.
Yes.
One campground it can be great, but many campgrounds it really is not all that good. So with the RO system, we will be able to have perfectly pure water everywhere we go. As long as the water is safe to drink that's going into it, it'll be tasty coming out of it.
And here at NFA Base Camp, the water is perfectly safe to drink, but it has a fairly high iron content in it. And I can taste it, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much, but Janice really doesn't enjoy it. So this system will fix all of those problems and give us great water no matter where we go. They're not all that expensive to operate, so we think this is the option for us.
Yeah. And if you like our videos, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed. Give us a thumbs up, and any comments or questions you have on any of the videos or this particular one, let us know.
Anyway, let's get to installing an RO system.
Yes.
So let me give you a rundown of the equipment we're going to be installing here. Water supply comes in here. It'll go through this booster pump, and that will increase the pressure up to about 100 psi or something like that, so that there's enough pressure to push the water through the RO system, and we don't have to rely on the lower pressure that is supplied by the pump in the trailer. That'll make it work much quicker, and there'll be much less load on the system. So out of the pump, it goes into this first filter here, and that is a sediment filter. So that's going to take off any particulate matter that is 5 microns or larger in size. Then it flows out of there into the second filter, this carbon pre-filter. So that should remove some flavors, and it'll also get rid of chlorine as well, that kind of stuff. Out of there it flows into the actual RO filter. So that's where the bulk of the filtering happens. And then the output from that then flows through this final stage, which is another carbon filter, which should remove any residual flavors from the water. So what comes out this pipe over here on the side is virtually pure water. And we managed to find this faucet at Lowe's, and it's a very good match for the faucet at our kitchen sink. So this will be mounted on the counter next to the other faucet, and this is where we'll get our drink of water. What I didn't mention is that once the water has gone through the RO filter, there's a T-fitting here that allows that water to fill up this little pressure tank here, and that will give us a reserve capacity of about 2 gallons of RO water on hand at any point in time. So if you're filling up a water jug or something like that, there's plenty in there to be able to do that. We have a TDS meter on this system as well, so that we'll be able to measure the total dissolved solids at the input and the output to the system. And that's good for allowing you to confirm that the system's actually working properly. One of the disadvantages of RO systems is they create a lot of wastewater. And when I say wastewater, I should clarify, because the water is not unusable that comes out of an RO system. It's just got exactly in it what was in the water when it went into the RO system, just a little less water, so it's a little more concentrated. So there's a couple of things you can do with that. You could just have it dump on the ground. You could have it go into your septic line and just down the drain that way, or it could go into a gray water tank, or it could go back into your freshwater tank. We have opted for the latter, and the reason is that if we're boondocking, we don't want to be wasting water, obviously, so we will just filter water out of the freshwater tank and the wastewater will go right back into the tank. So we're not talking about a lot of water being turned into RO. For us. It's just for drinking and ice cubes, that kind of thing. So we think this is the best option for us, so that we're not wasting water when boondocking. If you never boondock, I wouldn't bother doing that at all. I would probably send it into the gray water tank. We're going to mount the main filter unit up on this wall right here. It backs onto all of the plumbing and everything, so that'll be a handy spot for it. I have to splice into our plumbing system. I have to get fresh water, and I have to be able to send the wastewater back into the freshwater tank. So I can see this main line up here is what everything is fed off of, so I'm going to tap into that to provide a supply of water to the RO system. And down here, this pipe here goes, it's an auxiliary freshwater fill line, so I'm going to tap into that in order to send the wastewater back into our freshwater tank. To do that, I'm going to use these press fit or push and connect connectors. They're like shark bite, if you're familiar with that particular trade name. So it just means I need to cut a little bit of pipe out in the trailer and then push the ends of it into this, and that will be it for the connection. Then this will be out to the RO system, and another one will be on the freshwater fill line, and so this would be in from the RO system. It's important when using these kind of push connect plumbing fittings that the pipe that you are inserting into them be cut nice and square. To do that, I'm going to be using these tube cutters. You can do it with just a utility knife if you're very careful to make sure that the cut is nice and square and clean. I've opened the low drain for the system with the water turned off, so that we can get as much water out of the pipes as possible, so that when I cut into them it doesn't make a huge mess. I will obviously have towels on hand as well to clean up anything that does come out of the pipe. Okay, so I got those two valves in. One there. Both turned off right now, so I'm going to go turn the water back on and we'll check for leaks. So the water's back on and everything seems dry here. I won't know about that one until I hook a hose up to the auxiliary input for the tanks and see what happens, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Next, I need to find a place to mount this pump. I'm going to mount it just up on that little shelf there. That's the hot water heater above and the furnace below. So there's a little bit of space right there, and it's nearby to my water supply and the RO system, so that'll be perfect. So there it is. It's got little rubber shock mounts on it to try and reduce the amount of noise that gets transferred from it into the RV when it's running. I need some way of mounting this pressure tank. It's fairly small, it's, I don't know, 2 gallons or something like that. But nevertheless, I need to somehow strap this thing in so that the trailer, as it's going down the road and going over bumps and everything, is not shaking it loose and having it rattle around. So I think I've come up with a solution. That's the little stand there that it goes on. So I'll set it on there. I'm going to cut this plywood off at the line there. And I'll have 2 pieces of upright wood, obviously cut off to the right height, and then I'll put worm gear clamps around the entire thing, and this will be screwed down to the floor in the cargo area in behind the panel where all of the wires and pipes and all that kind of junk is. So the tank will be out of the way back in there and well secured. You probably can't see that in there, but I've got the mounting bracket, if you want to call it that, for the pressure tank in there and screwed down to the floor. It was a bit tricky to get it in there past that rat's nest of wires and pipes and cables and everything, but managed to get it in there. Now I just need to get the tank into it and get that clamp around it and tightened up. So under the sink here, I've managed to push the 3/8 inch supply line down through alongside the other plumbing pipes. I've detached the first couple of feet of the belly here on the higher part of the trailer, not the front lowered section, and that has given me access to the area below the kitchen sink and island. And it makes it easy for me to get the tube through to the front of the trailer where the RO system is located. Here's the tube that I shoved down from underneath the sink. You can see light up there, and that is the cargo area. So I just used a pole to push the tube up into that area. Janice was able to grab it and pull it out.
So, I think we need to move this so that it's around to the front. Because it drives me crazy. You get water all of this every time you turn it on and off. If it's on the front.
I like that too, because I can never remember which way's hot and which way's
Right.
cold.
And then that would enable us to put this here somewhere. And we still have room somewhere around there, I think.
All right, let's drill a hole in the counter.
No! We have to check and see what's underneath it first.
So unfortunately, it looks like we have a bracket that's holding the sink in right where we would like to put this faucet. So I'm going to have to move that bracket a little bit.
There's no turning back now!
What could go wrong?
Stinky.
It is.
Very, chemically, I guess. It's not like...
I've drilled through the countertop, and now there's plywood underneath. So that bottom little bit of the countertop is stuck in the hole. And wiggle it around in there.
Right.
But it cuts really nice, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to think that that's what our countertop is made out of. It's like plastic.
See, I can't drill any further because this disc is just spinning in there.
And we have a hole. Oh.
Isn't that lovely?
It's going to look pretty.
We're going to put it on that way?
Suppose we could.
No, not now that we've changed this one.
No, I know.
All right. That's
Awesome.
good. So I've got the washers and nut on now, and it's clamped down tight. Just have to screw this thing on now and then push the pipe into the end of it, and this end will be done. There's a final look at the fully installed RO system now, just inside the cargo bay here. Let me give you a look behind the wall there at all the connections. So in behind the panel here, we've got a shut-off valve here, which is the water supply to the entire system. Up here there's a shut-off valve. That is the line that goes to the faucet in the kitchen. So we can turn that off there if we have to do any work on that faucet. Down here, that's where the wastewater goes back into the freshwater tanks. And then on the top of the pressure tank there is a valve as well, and that allows you to isolate the pressure tank so that if we have to winterize, we can keep that from being filled up with antifreeze. The pump, sitting on the little shelf there, and its power supply is actually plugged in down here. This outlet was an extra one left over after we put our solar system in, and we're now no longer using this inverter that's down here. So that outlet was not being used, so now it is what runs the pump for the RO system. The other outlet here is for the central vacuum system, which will get plugged back in when I put these wall panels back in place. So that's all that's left to do. Get these wall panels back in and I am done. So there you have it. That's our RO installation, and we really like it.
Yeah, it's the water has zero taste to it, which I love.
Yeah, so some of you will be wondering about what does a system like this cost, and if you look on Amazon or something like that, you'll see these kind of systems ranging anywhere from $200 to $500, depending on what options you get. We went with the booster pump, and that adds a little over $100 to the cost, but I feel that in an RV like this, that's a must, because you can't count on enough water pressure to be able to drive an RO system. Maintenance,
Really, the only thing is filter replacement, and you don't have to do that often, and they're not that expensive.
right. So anyway, cost of ownership, not all that high. We'll have links to some various systems that are similar to ours in the description below. You can check those out if you like. And anyway, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.